This e-learning lesson is going to cover billing day. We're going to learn how to go through the billing day checklist, which includes creating a go-back point. We're going to learn how to charge board, post any last-minute procedures or credits, check the unbilled procedures report, charge service fees if desired, actually bill the procedures, and then print the pre-billing report and customer statements. We will open up Wise Option, go to the Billing tab at the top. This is our billing day checklist. We're just going to follow each one of these steps until we get to the end, and then billing will be completed. The first thing we're going to do is create a go-back point, so I will click this button. It will ask me if this is really what we want to do. Yes. Double confirmation, yes. This message is going to tell us that if we do this frequently, it will consume a lot of space on our local disk. So every now and then you should review each go-back point, group some together, and maybe burn them on a CD or a DVD and then delete them from your local disk. This will save some of your space on there, but we don't recommend you ever to just delete them. You should keep a copy. So we'll click OK, and it will run and create a go-back point for us. That simply means that if in the middle of this process something goes wrong, we only have to go back until just now. We don't have to go back to the beginning of the day when the auto backup was created. So we'll click OK. This is the name of our file. The next thing we're going to do is go to the boarding. And what we're going to do first is print the boarding list. And yours will just print right to your computer. I've set this one up to print to the screen so that you can see what will be done here. And this is going to be the boarding list. It will tell you the neckband, the name of each horse, their arrival date, and then the new period date and which rate they're currently on. The new period is going to be the beginning date of that rate. So you can see this mare, for example, she got changed on 2/27 to the $15 rate, which I know is a wet mare rate. Previously to that, she was on a dry mare rate. So this is going to be that date of the most current rate that she's currently on. I will close that. You'll review that list, make any modifications that you'd like to in the boarding module. That will be covered in another e-learning lesson. For now, we will assume that everything's okay and click Charge. We'll ask if we would like to charge board for all of the horses on our board list. Yes. Now it's going to ask if we have reviewed the list. That was the list that I just showed you to print the board list. We can say we have already done that and everything is good, so we'll say yes. The date that we want to charge last is going to be the end of the month, so 2/28 is what I would like it to say. If you'd like to change this, this would be a place to do it. Click OK. The last day of charge is the last day of February. The new period will start the first day of March. That's correct. Again, this is going to be the date that we want the procedure billed. So usually we want to do it the last day of the month. That's what it's defaulted as. If you'd like to change it, again, now's the place to do that. Click OK. Confirm that we are charging boarding and the date is going to be 2/28. We'll say yes, and it's now charging my board. So I have 15 horses successfully charged. Let's say OK. I can now close the boarding module because I've just billed board. The horse review button and the customer charges credits are simply shortcuts to the horse file and customer button. If you open up the horse review, exactly the same place you'd go if you entered the horse file. This is going to be a place if you'd like to add a procedure or remove a procedure. If there's something in the back of your mind, you wonder if this is the place to do it. Also, if you notice if there's a check sitting on the counter that you might not have credited to the account, this is a shortcut to get to the customers without having to leave the boarding module. It also will tell you the last module that you accessed was customer charges, so you know where to go from here. We'll look at the unbilled procedures. I'm going to say yes so that you see them on the monitor. We recommend you say no and actually print the report, and then once you have the corrections you'd like to make, then go to say yes and see them on the monitor. This report is going to show you all of the procedures getting ready to bill to each horse. You can go through and look one by one. Again, this is why we recommend you print off the list. If there's something on here that I don't like, I can simply double-click it, edit either the horse, the price, the date, and then save it again. This seems to be fine, so I'll simply close it. I can close this. There's nothing else I need to do this particular step except review them, change if I need to. I can add, look at the horse file, or go to the mare record, but I'm done, so I will close. The next thing we do on our list is charge a service fee. This is optional. For those of you that have charge APR set up on the client's, on the customer actual file, these will be the customers that are affected by this step. So we're going to pick our date, which is going to be the month of February. Considered unbilled procedures which have a value of negative as a credit. If you have a procedure that was done to a horse where you actually are crediting them back money if it was a return or something like that, we're going to ask it for those unbilled procedures to affect the account balance before we actually charge them a service fee. You can either leave this box checked or uncheck it, set the percentage that you would like to be have each client charged, and then your charge date. If you'd like to do the service fees, we're going to simply click here and charge. That is correct. This is what we want to do, so say yes. Our rate is correct at 1.5. We'll say yes. The service fee, that's exactly what I'd like it to say on the comments. If you'd like it to say something else, just start typing over it. Say OK. It will be entered on 2/28. That is the new date that I'd like it to be entered, so I'll say yes. Last confirmation, I do want to charge it now. I'll say yes, and it's now charging service fees. 15 customers charged, 8 of them had a balance. $242 was the total, an average of $30 a customer. So I can say OK. I'm now done with the service fee, and I'm going to go to billing procedures. I have two options here. I can bill either all unbilled procedures in my system. So if it's perhaps the 3rd of the month or a long weekend, you can bill everything that is in your system, or you can bill only procedures for a specific period, which usually will set up to go through the end of the month. That way, if it is a long weekend, you don't have to worry about billing on the 1st. You can bill whenever it's convenient for you and backdate it so that it only covers procedures entered from the previous month. The start date is going to be 1/1 of the previous year. That is so that if you realize that you forgot to bill them something in January, for example, you can enter that in January for the correct date, and the computer will catch that. Since it's backdated, it won't skip it. So this is correct. It should be 1/1 of 2006 if we're going to charge through the end of 2007. Now, if you entered something, you're more than welcome to change this to 2000 if you want to go back that far. These are the default dates set up by the computer, though. Billing procedures with a value of 0 is by default unchecked, and that's usually set up for palpations. If you would like for the client to see every time that you've entered a procedure on a horse where the value is 0, check that. Otherwise, they will not see those procedures with a value of 0. My options are set like I'd like them, so I'm going to click here to bill my procedures. Module creates invoices. That's what we want to do. Double confirmation is required at this point, so we'll say yes for sure. The date is going to be the last day of the month. That's what I would like it to be, so we'll say OK. Again, we'll double confirm that that's the correct date. Say yes, and now it's creating each of my invoices. Give it a second to do this. And now we're done. 25 invoices created for $21,832. Average per horse was $873.28. 69 procedures billed for an average of $316.41 procedure. We'll say OK. Now it's going to update the customer's balance. Say OK. And it's done. At this point, technically billing is completed. If you look at anywhere in the customer's file, their account balances will be correct and everything will be billed, everything is charged. However, the client doesn't have a copy of their statement. So this is where the last comes in for the pre-billing and the statements. We'll click on pre-billing statements. The start date and the end date is going to cover any invoices created within these dates. So if you had a horse that you checked out of the boarding module and went ahead and created an invoice and it was done on 2/15, they would receive a copy of that invoice as well. We'll leave these dates like they are. Customer balances with 0, we have an option to include them if we'd like. We can print messages only in the summary statements. You have an opportunity for 3 institutional messages. They can either print only on the summary. If you were to check this box here, without it checked, it will print on the summary in each invoice that they received. We do want to print the invoices present in the summary on this occasion because it will detail each of the procedures they were billed. Some clients I know choose to print out a summary statement only in the middle of the month and send to their clients as reminders. But for your initial end of the month, if you do not print the invoices, they don't know which horse received which procedure and where that invoice came from. 1 page per horse, you have the option to do it this way, or you can print all of your invoices on as many pages as it takes. Sometimes you can get 3 or 4 invoices on one page. I suggest that you should try to print a couple of them this way and a couple the other way, see which one you like the best. You have the option to print the neckband number on the invoices. If I uncheck that, it then won't print. Your sort criteria is going to be the way that the invoices are printed out. It doesn't have anything to do with what it looks like. It's just going to be the order. You can print it either by the sort ID of the customer, the name of the customer, or the account number for the customer. To print out our statements, we're going to click here. And it's going to say it's 2 of them. It's going to find the customers where they match our options, and then it's actually going to print. So we're ready. Say OK. It's finding the customers. Then we're going to print out 12 statements. Say OK. Now this is where we can interrupt the process. The second is going to allow us to either print the pre-billing or the statements. If we're ready for step 2, we can say yes. It's going to ask if there's enough paper. We can say yes. Now this is the part where you either decide if you would like to print the pre-billing report or if you'd like to print the statements. They both come through the same options. If I say yes, we'll print out the pre-billing. If I say no, we're going to print the statements. I'm going to say yes so you can see the pre-billing report. Again, when you want to print out the statements, just answer no here, so I'll say yes. Now again, my computer, I have it to where it's going to print to the screen. Yours will print directly to your printer. Give it a minute and it will come up. This is what your pre-billing report will look like. So it has the client name, that's how I chose to print it out, and their account number, their prior account balance as of February 1st, and then the invoice that we created, and then they got a service fee billed. This is now their total due. And then it's going to show me for the invoice what was billed on that invoice, and for, of course, what horse. The next one we can look at is going to, again, have their prior account balance, each of their invoices created during this period, the service fee. If they had any credits, they would also show up here. And then their total due. It's going to have for the horse that invoice that was created and everything that was billed to them. The next horse, everything that was billed on that invoice, and the next horse, everything that was billed. You will simply review each of these. If there is a correction that needs to be made, that will be covered in another lesson. You'll review all of these. Pre-billing report done, that's what it will show on your screen. After you've reviewed everything, corrected what needs to be corrected, you'll simply go back to the pre-billing statements, select your choices again, and then again at that place where it says yes for pre-billing, no for statements, you're going to select no, and then print your pre-bill or print your statements, and then you are done with billing. You simply have to put them in envelopes and send them to your clients. I'll click close here. After you print your statements, it will give you the opportunity to see reports at the end of the period. Just want to make you aware that if you go to Customer, Print, Reports for the end of period, you can access these reports here as well. That will be covered in another lesson. So for today, we have gone through the billing day checklist, created a GoBack point, charged our board, posted any last-minute procedures or credits, checked the unbilled procedures report, corrected if necessary, charged service fees if we liked, billed the procedures, and we printed the pre-billing report, and we showed you how to print the customer statements.